up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Plus Money Sports Betting Podcast. My name is Q. You can follow me on all socials at Bets by Q. And of course, this podcast is brought to you by Black Sheep Betting, where it is a dog's world. All right, 2 links in the description, one for the VIP. That is where I drop all of my official plays. It's built for disciplined bettors with consistent unit sizing, those who are looking for long-term value and month-over-month profitability. It's not a place for degenerates, okay? I don't want that kind of business, right? You're not going to go into the VIP and find 10K challenges or 10 leg parlays that pay out $30,000. I'm just not one of those bettors. This isn't Cody Covers or the tennis capper. This is Q. Q is all about value over volume. All right, so if that sounds interesting to you, or you're new to betting and you need somebody to follow, the VIP is definitely the place to be. There are some free trials in there. Please come check it out. I don't think that you'll regret it. All right. The second link in the description, that is for the free Discord chat. It is hosted by my friend Will from the Double Fault Tennis Podcast. It is a place to hang out, share bets, celebrate the wins, cope with the losses. We are building a winning community. It's completely free to join. Almost 1,000 members right now. We talk sports 24/7, 365, every hour of every single day. You will usually find me in the tennis channel late at night or early in the morning, especially now that we're in the Australian swing of things. So you definitely want to check that out. If you want a little bit more action than what I'm giving you on the pod, or you don't want to be in the VIP, completely fine with me. Check out the Discord. It is free. We would love to have you in there. The third link in the description, very simple. It is just a bet tracker. It is simply that. All right. It is a place where I get to be transparent with the picks that I give out on the podcast. I'm working on doing one for the VIP, but the VIP is structured a little bit differently. And those in the VIP kind of know where the value lies and where we're at month over month, every single month. All right. Now, it's taken me a lot to do this podcast. But I got some Chick-fil-A in the belly. I know it's going to be a great day. Semifinals in college football, ACC, SEC matchup. But let's recap yesterday before we get into today's only play. Yesterday, we go 2-1 on the card. Excuse me. Magda Lynette, she gets it done in dramatic fashion. She nearly drops the first set. In fact, like the exact opposite of what I said was going to happen happened. I said, well, maybe Coach Ioreto, gets broken in her first surface game, but the Magda Lynette ended up getting broken in her first service game. She almost dropped the first set, battles back from down a break. She steals the first set, 7-5, narrowly drops the second, and then she finishes the job with a 6-3 win in the third set to cash at plus 120. That was a set in which she was up 5-0 though, and she gave back 2 breaks before finally closing out. But needless to say, we cashed at plus 120 for 1 unit. It was a great bet. Felt really good about it. And it was fun to watch, to be honest with you. It was pretty windy in New Zealand, but needless to say, she got the job done. We were able to cash that bet. Then we had the Utah Mammoth and the Senators game. Unfortunately, it did not go over the 6.5 despite a kind of a quick start there. But the Mammoth did win in regulation. They won 3-1. So we cashed on the 60-minute money line at plus 180. Brings us to up 2 units on the day. Check out that bet tracker, as I can't remember off the top of my head what we are on the week, but I know we're in the positive. So 2-1 on the day. We'll take it. Let's roll into today's play, because I got a feeling. I think everybody's got a feeling, right? That's what betting is about. Betting is about, it's where your gut and your brain kind of mesh together. But only those who have the courage to take the ugly side of things, that is when things work out in your favor. Okay, that is where the big payouts come in. That is where all the hard work, all the studying and everything, that's where it pays off. All right. Look, I'm not here to lecture you on how to bet, but I will say this, before you start looking at lines, just look, I was watching the Pivot podcast the other day with Ryan Clark and Fred Taylor and Crowder. And, one of the things he said about, gambling in the sports world now is he said he just looks at the team and he says, who do I think is going to win? He doesn't really look at it from a standpoint of the spread and all of that because he doesn't really gamble. And I think it's kind of like my strategy as well. Naturally, as a handicapper, I'm always looking at money splits and those sorts of things. But before I do any of that, before I even look at the line, what I do is I do my research and I say, what do I think the line is going to be? Right? Based on, previous games and so on and so forth. And so then once I figure out what I think my line would be and what side that I really like in the game, and if I could find a path to victory for that team, then I go and look at the actual line and it makes my decisions a lot easier. That and the fact that I don't pay more than minus 115 as far as, laying the juice. I just don't believe in it. I mean, if you're paying minus, you know, 120, 130 for a play, I mean, it's just, you know, it just doesn't really make sense, especially when you factor in taxes and all those sorts of things. And that's why this podcast is called the Plus Money Sports Betting Podcast, because the ideal is to get plus money plays or as close to the plus money play as possible. And so that's why, look, like we're going to lose some of them, but when those plus 500s and those plus 300s hit and it's a straight bet, I mean, it feels good, but the pockets get swelled up too. But anyways, as I digress, let's hop in to today's matchup. Classic ACC versus SEC vibes here in the semifinals as Ole Miss and Miami collide in the Fiesta Bowl with a trip to the national title game on the line. For Miami, this might be the first time that an ACC team makes a national championship. Probably not the first time because Clemson did it. But off the top of my head, I can't think of another ACC team that's, made the national championship, especially since a new structure in like 2013, 2014. But be that as it may, trip to national title game is on the line. Ole Miss comes in. They're a slight dog, 3.5 dog. But this matchup, I think, is way closer than the numbers suggest. When I made this line, I made it as a pick 'em. All right. Miami's defense has been very, very, very good on paper. They've allowed just 17 points over their last two games. But I think we have to add a little bit more context because that doesn't show the entire picture. Yes, this defense is phenomenal. I mean, they have two players on their defense that are going to go top 10 in the first round next year if they decide to go and declare for the draft. But offensively, the Miami Hurricanes, they've only managed 3 touchdowns in that same stretch of 2 games, just 4 drives of 50 yards or more. So they're not stringing along long drives, and they're not really producing offensively. They've been winning ugly, slowing games down, and they're kind of just daring teams to blink. Here's the issue with that. Ole Miss does not play that game at all. This is a team that has a chip on their shoulder. I mean, the Lane Kiffin situation. You have the situation with the coaches for Ole Miss right now. Some of them are going down to Louisiana to join Kiffin. They're not even going to. Some of these coaches are passing on this game. I know that the line is probably factored in for that. You probably think that if, take away the Lane Kiffin situation, I think that, this line probably does open up as a pick-em, but that's not the case. Charlie Weiss Jr., which is crazy to think. I mean, we're at that age where Charlie Weiss's son is the offensive coordinator for Ole Miss, and he'll be the offensive coordinator for LSU next year. But he will be back, and I think that is one of the reasons why I'm leaning the way that I do in this game. But let's talk about Trinidad Chambliss. I mean, he brings a skill set that Miami has not had to deal with just yet. All right. His ability to escape the pressure and extend plays, I mean, it changes the math and it changes the way that you have to approach this game, especially when you pair it with Kawan Lacey in the run game. I mean, this kid, Kawan Lacey, that is, phenomenal running back. I mean, he's closing in and clipsing on, I think, like 1,700 yards on the season. And then, I know that Miami, they shut down Texas A&M to just 3 points in the first round, but Ole Miss is a different animal stylistically. The offense, they've proven that they can score in bunches. And on top of that, I mean, when their opponent scores 30 plus points, they're 2-1 this year. Okay. So how I think about this is like if this turns into a track meet, I feel like that's an edge for the Rebels. And I think another massive factor here is Lucas Canero, the Ole Miss kicker, has a legitimate leg. He's going to go into the NFL. He's 27 for 30 on the year, 3 bombs from 47 plus yards in the win over Georgia. That matters in a playoff game where every drive counts, trip to the national title game on the line. I think that you will see Ole Miss, say, hey, let's take these 3 points, you know, and I think that they can get just enough stops. I mean, yes, Miami's going to try to establish the run game on offense. They absolutely killed Ohio State on the ground. They ran for 150, but the Rebels, they can counter with explosive plays on the perimeter. I mean, you think of their freshman wide receiver, Malachi Tony. I think he's the X factor here in this game. Over 1,000 receiving yards on the season, 8 touchdowns, and the kind of speed, and natural speed and quickness that can flip the momentum in one snap. Miami wants to kind of drag you into the mud, right? They want you to drag your knuckles through concrete in order to get a win. And Ole Miss kind of wants to do the opposite. They want to force pace. And no one has held Chambliss and this offense down for 4 full quarters in the college football playoffs just yet. From a market standpoint, here's what was eye-opening to me. Circa is showing about 42% of bets on Miami to cover, but they're taking nearly 70% of the money on that same side. That is real liability if the Canes get there. And the line's already moved past the key number, right? We're at 3.5 now. At this point, I think that the value has shifted and it's all on Ole Miss. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to side with the Rebels. I'm going to take the 3.5. I think Ole Miss keeps this tight. I think that they can quiet the crowd. And at the very least, I think they cover the 3.5. I think Ole Miss wins this game. If you want to be a little bit ballsy and you want to go and take the money line, by all means. I'm going to take the 3.5 because that is where the value lies on this pick. So give me Ole Miss plus 3.5 for 1.5 units. Lock it in. I will see you at the counter. Okay, so one play on the board today, 1.5 units in play. Ole Miss, 3.5. I think that this game is 35-33 in favor of Ole Miss. All right, so I'll be back here tomorrow with more plus money plays from around the sports world. As always, my name is Q, and I hope each and every one of you hit each and every one of your bets. Peace.